Alright guys, welcome back to the Fed Up Fab YouTube channel. And this week we've got this Pimp My Ride. But no, really, it's just an 05 300C. And the reason I've got this is it has a 5.7 HEMI that runs really, really good. It's got a lot of other problems, but it has a HEMI. So since that HEMI in the Ford right now is blown up, this one is going to be perfect. So it's an 05. It's got a little bit, a little bit different setup. The valve covers are the aluminum ones. Got these spark plug wires that run across the top. But I'm going to delete all that and we'll use the stuff from the other motor. But this thing, as much of a pile of crap as it is, actually runs really well. The trans is shot though. Well, either the trans is shot or it's just angry. It's in limp mode and I figured that out when I tried to do a burnout. But so it's like super rev limited in first. But it wasn't rev limited in reverse, so it did a sweet reverse burnout. And you can see that here. So yeah, this thing, runs pretty good, but all I really care about is this motor. So I'm going to yank this thing out really quick, or it's going to look really quick because I'm just going to time lapse it and speed it way up so I look like I'm amazing and you can't tell how many hours it took me to pull it. But once we get it out of here, we're going to throw this thing on the engine stand and I've got boxes of parts for it. We're actually going to build this thing for boost a little bit. It's still going to be a stock motor, but we're going to open it up and try to make it live a little bit more, at least more than we did on that 5.9 Magnum. I've already got head studs, gaskets, rod bolts, all sorts of fun stuff. But let me tear this thing out of here and then we'll get it on the engine stand and we'll go through it and see exactly what we've got. Alright, HEMI's out and on the stand, so I'm finally ready to work on it and we can get it prepped to put it in the old Ford. Hopefully for the last time we can pull this engine out. But what we've got is, this is an 05 5.7 out of that 300. And these 5.7s, they gap the rings really tight from factory and everybody says that's why they break pistons under boost. So I got a whole bunch of parts. I don't just want to blow this thing up. The 5.9 and the 51, that thing, I didn't really do anything to it and it was good. But these newer motors seem to be, they're built a lot tighter, so we're going to do some prep to it. We got to gap the rings. I got some head studs and head gaskets and new lifters because we got to delete the multi-displacement system. I got new rod bolts for it. So there's a whole bunch of work, but the first thing I got to do is basically tear this thing down to a short block so we can start popping pistons out and start gapping the rings. Alright, I got it torn down. The heads are still on, but I got kind of everything off the sides, intakes out, and it's not bad. She's a little dirty. Let me grab a light here. It's not the cleanest motor, but 145,000 miles, everything seems pretty good. These HEMI heads are just crazy looking, like especially if you look at the push rod angles. I don't know, they're really cool the way they're laid out. They're just something like, I don't know, you just never see it like that. Then over here, there's a little bit of can't really see it. If I wipe it, maybe there's like a little bit of moisture in there. You can see it kind of on this guy. But I think that's just because this thing was idling a lot and wasn't running great. It kind of just seems like condensation. But heads look good. Next thing is to pull the heads, drain the oil, and flip it over. But this is, so far, everything looks pretty good. I mean, it's definitely a gross motor, a mouse nest in there and everything, but alright, heads are all off, everything looks good. I mean, it's got some miles on it, but I don't see any kind of funny wear or anything. Lifters are out because we got to put new lifters in it. They're all chilling down here. I quickly looked at the heads, everything looked good there. This side looks good, everything spins over. I mean, it seems good. A little bit of dirt down in here, but I gotta flip it over, pull the oil pan, and we can start popping pistons out and start gapping some rings. But so far, I'm pretty darn happy with this thing. Alright, so I popped out number one, and the crank looks good. The bearings look good. Like, everything seems really good. Piston looks good. A little bit of skirt wear, but it's got 145,000 miles. But I took the rings off to gap it, and I broke the second ring. So, need to buy some new rings for this thing. Looks like I'm going to put some fresh rings in it to start. But I plopped in the top ring, the one that didn't break, and they're gapped at about 19 thousandths. So, I'm not sure what I'm going to gap them to yet. Probably somewhere around 30. But either way, they definitely need to be opened up. 19 is way too tight. So, but I got to order some new rings for these things. But, alright, I got all the rings gapped. I ended up just replacing that one ring because the new ring pack I got was a little thinner and I didn't really care for that. So, that one oil scraper ring is new. All the others are the factory rings. And I gapped them out to 30 thousandths on the top ring and 32 thousandths on the second ring, and I have no idea if that's right. I did a lot of research, and some guys said 24, 26. Some guys said 34, 35, and I figure it's 30, 32 is probably a little bit loose, but also I'm probably going to end up towing with this thing, which will be a lot of heat for an extended period of time, so I kind of biased it a little bit looser than maybe I should have. But I think that's going to be better. I'd rather have a little bit of oil consumption than have a motor that blows up and breaks the piston. So, and then I've also got ARP rod bolts because the stock bolts aren't reusable. So those are all in and torqued. So that's all good. Now I think I got to come over here and I have a new timing set for it. So I got to pull this front cover off, put a new timing set in, and then probably throw some heads on it. But it's coming along pretty well. And everything looked really good. All the rod bearings looked really, really nice. A little bit of wear, nothing good. All the cylinders looked really good. Pistons look really good. So fingers crossed this sucker will hold up. Look at the front timing cover pulled off. And look at this cam gear. It's all rusty and like pitted. Oh, it's so gross. The rest of the motor doesn't look like that. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on with that, but I got a whole new timing set, so I'm going to slap that on there and get rid of this rusty pile of crap. God, I've just never seen anything like that. It's so gross. Well, the new timing set looks a hell of a lot better and cleaner, so that's all freshened up. Now I moved up here, so I got to put new lifters in. I'm putting all new lifters. This was an MDS motor where it had the 4 cylinders where it could shut down and go down to 4-cylinder mode, which they have different lifters, so I'm going to replace all 16 lifters and just not worry about it. But it also has these little solenoids up here that I haven't pried out yet. So I got to take all 4 of these solenoids out, and I have plugs to put in there. So between that and the new lifters, the MDS system will be totally deleted, and I don't have to worry about it. And those lifters are known to be kind of marginal, maybe a problem here and there. So not even going to mess with it, just 16 new lifters, and I'll plug these up, and then yeah, time for some head studs and gaskets, I think. Front cover's all back on now. So, new lifters in with 4 new yokes. MDS plugs are in. ARP head studs are in. And the Cometic MLS gaskets are on. Which you got to be careful with these. There's a left and a right for a Hemi. They are different. And then there's an up and down. So they're labeled top here and then top on the front over there. But they're all in. Everything looks good. Just time to drop the heads back on, torque them down, and we can keep moving on. This thing's coming together nicely. I'm really happy with everything so far. Alright, I got the intake back on. That brings us up here, and there's 2 things I really, really hate about cars. One is automatic transmissions. I'm sure you've already figured that out. Everything I'm built with stick. The second, electronic throttle bodies. They just never feel right. Especially with a stick shift, there's just, I don't know, it just feels like you're pushing on nothing. There's no feedback. I hate them, so garbage. So I've got this little adapter plate, which goes to this nice giant eBay LS throttle body. So this takes all the LS, TPS, idle air control, everything. It's like a $60 92 millimeter. It's like the cheapest thing ever, but it'll go right on here. And I'll have a nice big throttle body and not have to deal with that piece of crap electronic throttle. So we'll get this on here, and then all we got to do is drill the heads, and this motor's ready to go in. So you're probably wondering why I said I needed to drill the heads. And the reason is I flipped these exhaust manifolds around. The way these Hemis are, they don't run the same pattern left and right. So these line up, and these line up. You can see them there and there, but in the middle, they're actually backwards. You can see where there's flat spots here where it would be drilled if it was the other head, but it's not the other head. So what I need to do is I need to drill these two and drill these two and tap them so I can actually flip the manifolds around. Because right now on that motor, there's only the outer bolts holding them in. So while I've got it out like this, I need to drill and tap these four, flip the motor over, and do the middle two cylinders on the other side. Shouldn't be too bad, but be a lot easier to do it straight up and down like this. And then this motor is ready to go except for oil pan and pickup, but I gotta steal it off that one. So this thing is getting wrapped up pretty quick. Nice and easy when it's aluminum. So these are drilled and tapped, and these are drilled and tapped. So now I can flip the manifolds and they'll bolt right up. I just got to flip the gaskets with them. And that honestly took me like 10 minutes to do these four. So I just got to flip the motor over, do the other side, and she's about ready to go in. The Hemi is ready to go back in. It is boost ready, gapped rings, head studs, new rod bolts. The heads are drilled for the flip exhaust manifolds. The stupid drive-by wire's gone. This thing is ready to go back in the Ford. And that's what we're going to do next time. We got to put an oil pan on it, clutch, all that stuff. We're going to jam it in there for the last time. And man, we're getting close to actually having this thing running. Like, I've already got the fuel system and everything sitting, the Holly sitting, like, have all the parts to get this thing on the road. So I'm really excited for that. But I'm glad this thing's done and ready, and we can just slap it in there with that trans, get the clutch and everything, we'll just get it done. So come back next time. We're getting closer to firing this thing up.